Hello, it is so great to have you here. Thank you for putting your energy into today's video. In this video, I'm going to share with you two core foundations that use inclusive communication so that you can create very powerful verbal cues that inspire growth and empower your students no matter how long you've been teaching for or your current level of experience. Now, I know that it can be confusing with all the different yoga styles and conflicting information out there, but that's why I have created this very simple yet powerful approach to impactful cueing that is aimed at empowering your students. With this approach, you'll have a very clear roadmap to follow, which will give you the inspiration that you need to confidently cue in your own unique voice. We're going to start with the primary foundation to impactful cueing. Empowerment. This is the primary foundation because you are not there to provide all the answers for your students. You are there to help them develop their own ability to discover the answers themselves, to really develop and hone in on their inner wisdom. So your cues can either promote a very heavy reliance on the teacher, which doesn't allow your students to grow and evolve within themselves. It doesn't really make a very big impact in the long term. Or your cues can help your students govern themselves, be empowered and learn how to make decisions that are very much in alignment with their needs, regardless of what the teacher is saying or what it is that they're doing. This is such a potent way to instill empowerment within your students and yourself as a teacher. Remember that you will never have all the answers for your students, no matter how long you teach. And you know what? You aren't meant to. Because your students are the ones that hold the answers. As teachers, we're really kind of just like bumpers, when you go bowling and the bumpers come up. We're just there to help keep them in the lane that they want to be in. Having this knowing, it gets you off the hook, right? It's a little bit relieving. You don't ever need to be able to provide your students with everything that they need. But empowering cues that prompt them to take responsibility for themselves and make decisions that align with their own intentions, those cues will provide them with a great foundation to use their yoga practice as a tool of discovery, rather than this conducted performance that they're being puppeteered around in, which can often happen in a yoga practice. You really want your students to develop the empowering wisdom to think and consider themselves before they act. So their connection to themselves is further deepened, creating even more profound levels of personal transformation. Now, the second foundation on top of the primary foundation of personal empowerment is curiosity. When your students are curious about themselves and their practice, when they want to explore and discover what is right for them, rather than just being told what they should do or what they shouldn't do, they are much more inclined to try and to stick with what actually works for them in their body. So your cues can either promote a false belief that there is this universal idyllic way of doing something, and that's the gold standard of how to do yoga, or your cues can be delivered with an invitation to explore different ways of doing the pose. Guiding your students to explore their yoga practice in a curious and introspective way is not only going to have their yoga practice become so much more personal and beneficial, but it will help them to overcome much of the crippling rigidity that they are faced with in everyday life that can prevent them from deeply knowing themselves. Now, through this approach to cueing, personal empowerment for your students becomes an automatic byproduct of curiosity. This personal empowerment ensures that your words will impactfully land with your students to help them move through their transformative yoga journey. One of the awesome teachers I mentored, Bailey, she actually felt really uncomfortable with giving cues to individual people in her group classes. And she said that she felt like she was an imposter when she got up in front of everyone in the room while she was teaching. And she didn't really know how to best guide those that needed her help and have herself feel more confident in her abilities. Now, after learning this cueing method, she could confidently offer impactful cues, and it made her classes even more accessible and beneficial to everyone who took them. Now, it is likely that you might have tried or are currently cueing your students to be empowered and curious in their practice. But there is one final component to impactful cueing that you might not have considered before. And that is, what is preventing your students from doing these two things? So tomorrow, we're going to address some common challenges that prevent your cues from empowering your students and inspiring curiosity. I look forward to sharing that with you. I'll see you then.